Hey, good morning. We are going to do, well, I'm going to do, and I welcome you to join along. Would be very grateful for you to join along, actually. I'm going to do another themed reading this week because by the time this gets posted, Independent Bookstore Day will be Saturday, which if you've been here for a second, you know I love Independent Bookstore Day and I am so excited for this year. I am in Chicago, if you didn't know that, and in Chicago, they have a history of doing a bookstore crawl on Indie Bookstore Day, which will be back now for the second year post-pandemic. And in 2019, my friend Emily and I, who I go around on Indie Bookstore Day with, tried it by kind of accident. We knew the bookstore crawl was happening, but we didn't think we were gonna attempt it. And then we just kept going to more stores, so we figured we might as well. However, because we didn't set out with that plan, we didn't have an itinerary, we didn't have a plan in place, and thus by the time we got to the last store, it was already closed. So we were like, 2020 is gonna be our year. Spoiler alert, 2020 was not our year. So there was, of course, no Indie Bookstore Day crawl or any happenings at all for 2020. By 2021, we were loosely up and running again. I went to a couple of stores that year by myself, but again, the crawl wasn't back. So last year was the first year the crawl was back and we did it. We did the crawl, we achieved the crawl, we got to our 10 stores and got our 10% off all participating bookstores for the year, because that's the carrot they're dangling. Not that I need a carrot dangled to justify visiting a bunch of bookstores on a predetermined day, but we went to 10 stores to get the 10% off. You can also do 15 stores to get 15% off. And we've had these small moments where we're like, could we do that this year? Because we absolutely crushed our schedule last year. Emily is a master at schedule making and we were running so far ahead of schedule, thankfully. However, we are anticipating or hoping to invite more friends along with us this year. So we're like, let's keep it loosey-goosey and just focus on the 10 because we want to have that wiggle room. We want to be able to enjoy ourselves. So I guess we'll see what happens on Indie Bookstore Day. I, of course, will bring you along for the ride. And you might be like, Melody, what does this have to do with themed reading? Well, we went to Indie Bookstore Day last year, and I am notorious for letting things sit on my TBR and things get kind of shuffled down, especially if I know that I have them forever and I can read them whenever I want. And if you were with me last year, you saw me do an Indie Bookstore Day haul, and I have read some of those books, so I really need to justify getting more of these books read to bring more books in. Now, my Indie Bookstore Day this year will, I anticipate, unless something really drastic happens in the next week and a half, will be a lot more toned down than the last year because I am still on that job hunt. It is rough out here, folks. But this is a bright spot and something I've really been looking forward to. I put aside some funds to facilitate this day guilt-free. And the way it's being run this year, we're going back to the passport book system, which I'm excited about in the sense that I'm going to get to show you. And because there were those hiccups last year with the picture system, it was fun. I liked sharing those photos online, I guess. But this way we will have the passport in hand. We can prove we've been to all those stores and hopefully get our card, our discount card right away. Now, is this more work for the booksellers? Absolutely, and I definitely appreciate that. Additionally, there is that kind of subtle, and I'm wondering if they went this route too, there is no obligation to purchase at every store by any means. There is going to be an initial purchase threshold in order to get the passport at your first store. I don't believe they've announced what that threshold is going to be. In the past, it's been $25, so easily attainable. However, that does mean that there is a cost involved in participating. And while there is no obligation to buy at every store, like I said, there is that kind of weird social thing where you're going to ask for a stamp. If you're not buying something, it's awkward. I'm an awkward person. I understand that. And they are truly so open and welcoming. In the past, the last time we did the passport system, I definitely didn't buy at every store and no bookseller ever made me feel guilty about that because it really is a celebratory atmosphere. So if you're interested in participating and that's kind of something holding you back potentially, don't worry about it. That is just more me recognizing what is going to be going on in my own brain in that moment. However, I also love supporting indie bookstores, and that is the point of Indie Bookstore Day. So I really do want to be able to purchase from as many as possible and to help justify that in both the cost based on my financial position right now and based on the amount of books I have in my apartment that aren't from the library. Turns out the Chicago Public Library has a hold maximum, not a hold maximum, we knew that, a checked out maximum. I wondered if this existed, but I had not encountered it. Finally encountered it. Turns out, yes, they do. I want to say it's somewhere, I didn't have an exact number, I wasn't really paying attention, but it's definitely something over 50, or was something over 50 for me. Are we going to discuss that further? No. Am I a little bit ashamed? Yes. Will I get all of those books read in a timely manner? No. But also remember, they renew automatically for me, and if someone puts it on hold, it goes right back. Anyway, moving on to the books I'm hoping to read. It is Wednesday currently, and I think I'm gonna do this to about Sunday, ideally, or that's my goal because of other reading things I wanna get read, feature Fridays, other things on the TBR, etc. Now, had I originally planned and hoped to do this for a full week? Yep, sure did, but that obviously is not going to happen. I fell behind. So let's talk about the books. I am absolutely 100% not going to get to all of these books, and these are only books I believe that I purchased last year. Do I have a couple of stray books that I have purchased in indie bookstore days past that still have not been read? Absolutely I do, but we're not going to talk about those because those make me feel a little ashamed. So I am starting out and about 40 pages into A Night to Surrender by Tessa Dare. This is my first read for this exercise because it is also my Romance Book Club's book for this month, which our meeting is on Monday. So I definitely need to get this read, especially because I had not finished last month's book on time. I have since finished it and really enjoyed it, but had I finished it the day of our meeting? Absolutely not. I was also about 40 pages in. So this is what I'm going to be reading today. I am going to go to a coffee shop and read because my water is getting turned off in my apartment building for some maintenance. So we're just gonna take it out. Is it a little inconvenient because it's rainy? Yeah, but we'll see. I also am going to be trying out with this since it is a book club book. I bought these little sticky tabs, the clear sticky tabs for annotating and notes and what have you that everyone has been really excited about and I have been eyeing for a long time. And I've already sticky noted or like tabbed one little quote for discussion in book club, and that quote is, just to bring you along for the ride, yet another instance of Mrs. Worthington's wisdom proved wrong. If a woman's intellect was in any way analogous to her undergarments, men should thrill to see it revealed. So that is in reference to like a book of manners that had been talked about earlier in the book that the women kind of shuffle to the side, and this idea raised in it that a woman's intellect should be like her undergarments, you know, supportive and unseen. But our heroine clearly doesn't believe in that, has a lot of intellect, and is going to be kind of undermining that idea in this book for sure. This is the first in the Spindle Cove series by Tessa Dare, which has gotten a lot of attention, been talked about a lot. I am a Tessa Dare reader. I read Tessa Dare books. I am still waiting for that new one. The blurb sounds right up my alley, perfect in fact, and it was supposed to come out years ago, and maybe it really is coming out in 2024 at this rate. Maybe we'll get it someday. I'm starting to lose a little bit of hope, but I also recognize that authors' lives are authors' lives, and I don't know what's going on, and I am not owed anything, but I wouldn't mind just a little treat if you want to release that book. In the meantime, I am definitely going to be tackling this series at some kind of pace, but starting with this one because I bought it on Indie Bookstore Day, because I wanted to support romance on Indie Bookstore Day, and I'm gonna get it read. And then I'm gonna read, I know that I'm going to probably start with the shorter books, admittedly, just to make some kind of dent or progress in this stack. So I've got The City of Mist, which are the Carlos Ruiz Zafón short stories that I'm very excited about. This is a really short book. It's only around 150 pages or so. So I'm very interested to see how his Gothic style is going to translate to short fiction. And I've loved his adult novels, though I haven't admittedly read all of the Shadow of the Wind series, and I also love his young adult novels. I love kind of tracking the Gothic impetus that started in like Marina and translates, and you can see kind of move down to Shadow of the Wind. And I have my Penguin Drop Caps edition of Shadow of the Wind, which maybe I should reread. I know my book club had brought this up a couple of sessions ago, or meetings ago, I should say, and we were like, actually, that's a pretty long book. Let's put that off. So we'll see if we ever get to it. I really should reread, but I do love this book. I love Zafón's work, and so I was really excited last year to find the short story collection and then just let it sit in a pile for a year. My voice is doing that thing where I haven't talked to anybody yet today, and so we're just gonna deal with it. And then I'm probably going to try to jump to From Bad to Cursed by Lana Harper. This is an arc I got as like a freebie on Indie Bookstore Day, but the sequel not the sequel, the next book in this series came out earlier this year, and so I need to read this to read that. Now, do I have to do that? No, they're romances. I'm sure that I would catch on. However, I'm sure the other couples will make cameos and whatnot, so I'd like to keep up on it. So read this one, then read the next one. So this is like doing double duty of getting the stack down and preparing me to read another 2023 release. And then to go back to short stories for a second, this is one of the books that I wanted to make sure to get on Indie Bookstore Day last year and then just haven't read it yet, and that is Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century by Kim Fu. This is also short stories and kind of like weird abstract short stories, which I absolutely love. Now, so you don't think that I just bought a lot of short stories last year on Indie Bookstore Day and then never read them, I did read Maria Maria, which I picked up on a whim last year. That collection I had not seen before, knew nothing about, and I loved that one. One of my favorites of the year, talked about it in my underrated books for 2022, I'm pretty sure. So definitely one to check out, and proof that I do read short stories still sometimes. And then I'm hoping, and this is my stretch because this might not happen, and I probably need to be truthful with myself about that, but we'll see. If I do read one more book, I am between The Cartographers by Pang Shepard, which is really what I want to read, but we'll see if I have time. If I think I still have time for another book, but maybe not The Cartographers, I am, and yes, I recognize that I'm pronouncing that weird, but I'm not going to fix it. The Manning Tree Witches is another option. It's another, you know, witchy book, but it's historical fiction. So we will see if maybe I can get one of these snuck in as well. Ideally, yes, but I'm not sure. I really do need to read The Cartographers. I know it's gotten really mixed reviews, but so did the Book of M, and I loved the Book of M, so we'll see. And then at the bottom of the pile, I know I'm probably not going to get to these, but in the same way that you pack way too many books for vacation, these are going to sit in this stack. So I've got Keiki and I've got the Atlas 6. So again, probably won't get to these. This I do need to get to at some point relatively soon-ish, ideally, because I have a friend, Emily, you know, Bookstore Day Emily, who I'm sure you will meet this year, maybe. We'll see. Who wants to read it, but then again, she's told me she wants to read or is interested in some other books, including like Thistlefoot and The Wolf and the Woodsman that I need to get read as well. It's more just kind of motivation for myself to actually get those books read. And then the Atlas 6, which I know has been incredibly buzzy online. No, I have not read it yet, but this could easily fall into another video in the future potentially, so I may hold on to this one. This is probably my last priority book, but if you want me to bump this up in terms of prioritizing it in the future, let me know. So these are the books, this is the plan, but the most important in terms of like having a need to get it read is obviously the Tessa Dare. So I am going to go to Starbucks probably because I have a gift card, and so that's where I will go, and I'm sure I will be checking in. However, before I go quickly, I do want to say this is clearly a mass market. It's a little older. This is also the one where I said that the type at the top doesn't match the book, because this is not a medieval, despite what that text would have you think, but this is a mass market, like I said, you know, stating the obvious here, but this is kind of like the most annoying of the mass markets because the text is so close to the spine here. So I'm doing my best not to break it, and it actually makes it take longer because here we got, but it's like I haven't seen a book with the text this close to the spine in a while. So I have to kind of like cradle it. We got to support, and we got to kind of do it like that. I don't know, but we're gonna go read it. So I will see you shortly, and yeah. Okay, quick check-in. I am about 100 pages in if we round up, which I'm going to because I can. And I know that I've talked multiple times, honestly, at this point, because I mentioned it in my Indie Bookstore Day haul originally too, that I think the font here looks more medieval than Regency. I just mentioned it just a bit ago, but I am now having to reconsider that choice, or I guess the intention and the specificity of that choice. The fact that it may not be a mistake, and I know I should be more trusting, maybe I shouldn't, but I did mark a passage, and it talks a couple of times, the second time I marked it, about our hero Bram being a little bit more medieval, being a little bit more stereotypically manly, because it is kind of contrasting that him coming out of the army with entering this kind of spinster town, Spindle Cove, or at least that's how it's perceived. But it is a refuge for young women, particularly single young women. So I'm very intrigued to see where this goes because I trust Tessa Dare to give us a little bit more of a complicated view than just a stereotypical like alpha hero, which can be fun in romance, but this seems to be a little bit more of a commentary and a little bit more of a delicate exploration, particularly of power structures and how things are portrayed and perceived. And our love interests are definitely on equal footing here, especially intellectually, and the hero specifically notes that he appreciates a woman who has an intellect and can converse, and he may get a little hot and bothered when she demonstrates that she kind of knows what's going on with the war. So I'm very interested to see how these two continue to face off, but also how that dynamic is explored, while obviously not sacrificing any of the romance. So that's where we're sitting in this moment. Okay, I'm ashamed to admit I did not finish A Night to Surrender yesterday, but I am diligently working on it today. I'm having a lot of fun. I just got to a page where it's still exploring toxic masculinity still, but in that very Tessa Dare tongue-in-cheek kind of way. But there is definitely, or I refuse to be told differently, a Robin Hood Men in Tights reference and an Old Spice reference within one page. And when I say Old Spice, I'm talking about that commercial. You know the one. If you don't know the one, I need to go have a lie down, but I was excited to see that and thought that that was a lot of fun. So I am maybe, I don't know, can we count that as halfway? I'm going to finish this today, absolutely. And I'm hoping then that moving on to some short stories will kind of give me a little bit more of some wiggle room, some like buffer room. I don't know what that means, or I probably do know what that means about my hopes of getting to a fifth book. So we'll see, but I'm also not gonna rush myself through the books. For now, I think I'm going to go grab some lunch because I got a gift card in my Easter basket. And yes, I am 32 and still got an Easter basket. That's what happens when there aren't any grandkids in the family yet. But I think after that, I'm gonna run to the grocery store. So I will be picking this back up shortly, may get a little bit red at lunch, but may not. So we'll see. And I'm having so much fun with this. I've already downloaded the second in the Spindle Cove series on Libby, and it's just reminding me of how much I want that new Tessa Dare book that we've been waiting on. But until we get that, these will tide me over, and I'm gonna go grab some food. Okay, it is now Saturday, and unsurprisingly, probably, at least to me anyway, I am behind. I think I need to get over kind of setting these goals for myself of a book a day and realize that it's just not gonna happen. But I did, as I promised myself, and you guys, I guess, finish A Night to Surrender by Tessa Dare, the first in the Spindle Cove series, which is great because it is my romance book club that I need to have read for Monday. And with it, I might be entering my tab era. I don't know, we'll see. For me, this is a lot. And as I theorized, we did really lean into that medieval imagery, which is why I think that the type was the way it was at the top of the book, and now I am going to shut up about that. One of the things that I tabbed for discussion at book club comes later in the book, and it's not from one of our main love interests in this book, but is from who is being set up as the hero in the next book, Colin. And it's that kind of insightful rake moment, and he goes, "Of course you are, you're human. We're all scared, every last one of us, afraid of life, of love, of dying. Maybe marching in neat rows all day distracts you from the truth of it, but when the sun goes down, we're all just stumbling through the darkness trying to outlast another night." And I went, I can't wait for your heroine to mess you up in the next book. And I liked that this book really established, at least for me as a romance reader, its couples in the main trilogy, because I think it really started as a trilogy to my understanding. Within the first 50 pages, I had it kind of figured out, and I just kind of confirmed my hypothesis by looking on Goodreads and was pleased to see I was correct. So I've got this read, and then I have started on The City of Mist. Now I guess I'm close to halfway through now, and I'm honestly a little on the fence about it for how excited I was about it. We have this quote that I tabbed that says, "The fall of the righteous is always brought about by people who are most indebted to them. One doesn't betray those who want to ruin us, but those who offer us a hand, even if only because we don't wish to acknowledge the debt of gratitude we owe them." So it's got these kind of like insightful moments, and it definitely creates this gothic atmosphere. I love that a lot of these stories are kind of historical. I think we've seen everything from like the 15th century, the 16th century, like the 1910s, early 1900s, not the 10s, the hundreds, it doesn't matter. But one thing that's really striking me this go around, and granted, again, I have not finished the Shadow of the Wind series, and it's been a long time since I read the Shadow of the Wind originally, and it's been a long time since I read some of Zaphon's young adult fiction. So the kind of precursor to that series. But I'm noticing I'm having a kind of complicated reaction to the way women are written in here because it seems that they don't have a lot of agency. And it's falling in this kind of gothic vein that's almost kind of on the bridge of noir as well, where you've got these women kind of almost portrayed as either sirens or saints in some ways, or you're having these really tragic, awful things happen to women, but we are seeing it through a man's eyes, and in some way that is pushing along his story or his journey, even if he is a more passive narrator and the story is about the woman, we are seeing it through his perspective, and there is this understanding that this story has impacted him or taught him something in some way. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't know, because I'm still enjoying the voice of this, the atmosphere, the tone. There is a sense of atmosphere in here, especially in terms of the gothic, that is created through its language that I really, really wanted to see in the London Seance Society, and I know they wouldn't be the same thing at all because we have this idea of Paris and London in that book, and here we're largely in Barcelona, but it just very successfully creates atmosphere and place. And as you can see, this book isn't very long, so it does it successfully in a little amount of space. So I'm going to keep reading this, finish this, and hopefully start my next book as well today because I am behind, obviously, and we are going to be buying more books on Saturday to some amount. It's getting cloudy outside and there is a chance of rain, and I was potentially going to try to grab a coffee for an afternoon pick-me-up for some bonus stars because I could really use those bonus stars right now. So I may go do that before the heavens fully open, and then hey, maybe that gives me an excuse to light a rainy day reads candle as well. I don't know. But I will be picking back up on this reading momentarily because I still have a lot of work to do. Okay, let's touch base quickly because I have a book club brunch to get to for the night shift because book. So how many B's can we say there? Quite a lot, actually. So as previously discussed, I have finished A Night to Surrender by Tessa Dare, which is also my romance book club book for Monday or this month or what have you. I finished The City of Mist last night, and I did go ahead and write a review on Goodreads that kind of summarized the issues I was having that I expressed yesterday. And I said, complicated because I love Zafan's voice and the atmosphere created, but the way women were constantly used as devices in men's journeys here, with tragic things happening to them and no agency, was also difficult. So basically what I said yesterday, but I did let it sit and it kind of continued through the second half of the book. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling about this. And then I went ahead and started From Bad to Cursed. And by started, I mean that very literally. I'm only around 20 pages in. So this may be the last update I do so that the rest of the day I can really focus on finishing this, because obviously I had planned to read 4 to 5 books and I will probably finish 3. I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to sprinkle in some stories from lesser known monsters of the 21st century throughout the week since it is a short story collection, and then hopefully I can get that read fully as well. So this one so far I am enjoying. I've realized it's been a year and a half since I read Payback's a Witch, so I am lost a little bit. Well, not lost, but I haven't remembered all of the characters in as much detail as I would have if I had just finished Payback's a Witch, and we are obviously moving on to a new family here. So I am interested and excited because this seems like it's going to be a little bit more rivals to lovers, but we haven't even met the love interest yet, and we are in first person here, so I'll see how that goes in terms of the pacing for everything, but I'm excited to get that one read, especially because, as I've said before, I can then go ahead and read the third one in the series that I do have checked out from the library, so need to get on that. Now, onto the more logistical side of this quickly, and by this I mean Indie Bookstore Day, because I will be posting about my Indie Bookstore Day and our bookstore crawl, but I don't know that that's going to get up immediately after Indie Bookstore Day because of the way everything else is kind of falling, which is like the end and beginning of the month, and with Queen Charlotte, the Bridgerton spinoff coming out, all of that. So we'll see, but it will be up, and I am very excited because me and my friend Emily take this very seriously now. It is a lot of fun for us. And so last year, as I said, was our first year hitting the 10 stores because we failed by 1 store in 2019. So this will only be our 3rd year doing the crawl, and we were really set on getting those 10 stores, but we did it really successfully last year. And when we reached our last store, there were a lot of people coming in that had hit 15. So we were like, could we have done 15? And last year we were kind of like, no, we are glad we didn't attempt that. But this year we've been kind of sprinkling it into conversation, and I've been kind of like hinting at it, but I haven't fully wanted to raise the idea because I didn't want to get shot down, and it just seemed a little too ambitious potentially. However, Emily is in charge of making the schedule or the itinerary for Indie Bookstore Day, not because of any weaponized incompetence on my part, but she just thinks better both geographically and in terms of like time blocks. So she's the driver. She knows kind of how long it takes to navigate certain places. She's built in the navigation into the schedule itself. We have it kind of laid out with how much time potentially we are going to be spending in every store, with longer time in our favorites. And the fact that we have favorites and have favorites together is a true mark of friendship, I think. And so she sent me the itinerary because I just sent her my list of like have to hit stores and then like stretch stores. Like maybe we could hit this up, or this would be geographically close, but kind of leaving it ultimately up to her. And when she sent me the schedule yesterday, there are 15 stores on here, which I am really excited and kind of admittedly a little nervous about. Like I can feel myself kind of gearing up to run a race almost. Although I don't run races, so that feeling is purely fiction on my part and probably closer lines to anxiety, but the fun kind. So I'm really excited about this schedule, and like I said, because this is our third year doing this, and the first year we went to 9 stores, last year we went to 10, and this year we're going to be attempting 15, and every year there are different stores on our list. Now there are the ones that we always hit up, absolutely. The first year we kind of had a much more eclectic mix because we were just kind of going with the flow, and we decided to attempt it so last minute that it was purely kind of based on geography. But last year we were a lot more intentional, and there were a lot of stores that we tried in Evanston. This year we're not going to Evanston, but there are still going to be 5 or so new to us stores for this crawl. Now, admittedly, 2 of those stores are new and have opened within the last year, and one of those stores is the Understudy, which if you haven't been and are in Chicago, is our new drama bookshop. And I went in opening weekend and it was buzzing, and I loved the atmosphere. I loved the collection that I saw. Now, granted, I went, I want to say Sunday of opening weekend, so I know that the selection was picked over by then. It still looks like full shelves, but I noticed that a lot of the staff pick like table displays were really bought down, and there was definitely room on the shelf, and I just know that they had to have sold through stock. What I really appreciated about the store, in addition to just how gorgeous it was, there is a coffee shop there. It is a space that really feels like it wants to be a community space, and I'm sure I'll show you more of it after Indie Bookstore Day. But what I thought was really fun is it's obviously focusing on plays and drama, which I think we need so desperately, or needed so desperately in Chicago as one of the biggest theater cities in the country. But there's also a section of books related to theater, and not just like your coffee table books or your nonfiction, but like young adult where the characters are involved in drama, or adult books like All's Well that are based on Shakespeare or are retellings of Shakespeare. So I'm really excited to see if the selection has changed at all since I last went, especially because that self-same medal will have come out, so I would love to see it in store if it's carried, and if it's not carried, I may drop a little hint, who knows. But I'm really excited, and we're seeing a lot of the bookstores really pushing this event coming up, and I know that Emily and I are not the only ones that take it this seriously, because there were people doing the full 15 store crawl last year, and we were running into a lot of people doing the crawl. I think it will be a lot more obvious this year who is doing the crawl since the passports will be back. However, I'm not sure that they anticipated how serious some of us take this. I say because there's a whole page for the Chicago Indie Bookstore Day activities, which I will link below for any Chicago people who are interested in participating, which you absolutely should. And even if you don't want to do the crawl, it kind of gives an idea of what stores are participating and what special events or giveaways or opportunities the store may be hosting for Indie Bookstore Day. Now, it also lists the store's hours, which in some cases differ from their normal hours. And as you can imagine, when you are making an itinerary for a bookstore crawl, the hours are kind of important. Additionally, because to get your passport, you have to spend $20 at the first store. So there is that extra layer of planning when the passport is involved, because there are very specific stores that we want to give that money. Now, we're going to try and spend at all of them, or most of them, obviously, but we want to support the stores we know and love. That's kind of the point of the whole day. So we have to plan on where we want to spend money first, compared to also who is open when, so that we can go to the most amount of stores. So there is a lot of maneuvering, and thank you so much, Emily, for doing all of that maneuvering because I did absolutely nothing. I can take no credit on that. I said, good job, this looks excellent, and was really excited. I think the most I said was, hey, can we not eat at Chipotle because I'm still burnt out on Chipotle. So that was my very important contribution. But we had a text exchange earlier in the week because one of the stores that we really wanted to go to had differing hours on the Indie Bookstore Day page versus their normal store hours. And we were both like, well, surely those hours on the Indie Bookstore Day page are accurate because they would have had to submit those to the page, so they're surely open longer on Indie Bookstore Day. That makes sense. But Emily went ahead and called just to be safe, and they told her, oh no, we're actually opening at 10. Only for last night, after Emily had already made her itinerary for them to post on social media, that they are opening at 9 a.m. So that's fine, it's great. It gives us a little more buffer room, but it just kind of shows how closely we are paying attention to this, and surely we're not the only ones. Surely we are not the only ones paying this much attention to Indie Bookstore Day in Chicago, because Chicago really does make it an event, and I am so grateful for that. And the Chicago Indie Bookstore scene is thriving, and I'm really excited to get to all of these stores. They really make it so much fun. So I am obviously excited. The one thing I'm not excited about is that there is a significant chance of rain, which honestly is kind of par for the course at this point. In 2019, it was like pouring the whole day we were going around. Last year there was a chance of rain, but it really held off for us until our last store. But this year it really doesn't look like we're going to escape it unless the forecast changes pretty significantly. But it's going to be fun regardless. We will be trotting through the rain for our books, and I'm so excited to see what the day will bring. So I'm going to continue trying to get through as many books as I can before Indie Bookstore Day after brunch, but I would love to hear what you've got planned for Indie Bookstore Day, if there are specific stores you're going to hit up, if there are specific books you're looking to grab, or if there are any special events going on in your area for Indie Bookstore Day. But would love to hear what you've got going on, what you're excited about, and I will report back about my Indie Bookstore Day in the near future. So as usual, thanks for hanging out. Read something good, like and subscribe if you feel like it, and yeah, bye.